there everyone, it's Jenn, Board Game Librarian, and today I'm going to share with you my top 10 favorite games based directly on books. I'm going to do something a little different in terms of what I normally do on From the Page to the Table, where I kind of make some connections of sorts in terms of where the book can influence the board game. These are going to be very direct correlations. So with that being said, I am so excited to share this top 10 with you. It's something I've wanted to do for a very, very long time. And let's get it started with number 10. My number 10 favorite game based on a book is the Dresden Files, published by Evil Hat Games. This is a game that we have played within the last year, and it's been so much fun to play. This is another one of those exceptions where, I'll talk a lot on From the Page to the Table, where I've read the book first and then found the game. This was where I found the game first and then read the book. Based on the very popular series, The Dresden Files by Jim Butcher, this cooperative card game for 1 to 5 players allows you to go through certain scenarios throughout the books and work together to slay the big baddies. I love that you can play different characters like Dresden, Susan, and other characters as well. It's been a lot of fun to play. We've had a really big blast playing at 2 players. I think you get a really great sense of not only the humor that can be in the Dresden Files sometimes, but the tension as well. This has been a lot of fun to play, and this is my number 10 favorite game based on a book. Number 9 game based on a book is Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle. This cooperative deck building game is for 2 to 4 players from USAopoly. You could argue that this is more based on the movies, but of course the movies come from the source material, which is the books. What I love about this game is how popular it is at my library. It's one of our most circulated games, and I think the theme really sells it. For those who are huge Harry Potter games, this is maybe the best one on the market, and you really do get a sense of going through the certain years of the game where you're starting off very easy with the Sorcerer's Stone and building your way all the way up to Deathly Hallows. I love that you are building your deck. I'm a sucker for a really great deck building game. You add certain things along as you're working on different games. I won't give any spoilers, I promise. And that you could play as a couple of your favorite different characters. The expansion for this game is so hard. We've had it for a couple of years now, and I think we're still on the very first monster. What I love about that expansion is that it adds Luna, which another unsung hero in the Harry Potter universe. I love too that they made the decision to go with kind of pictures and stills from the movie instead of original artwork that might have been different from each card. But such a wonderful game, and I think it's a great introduction to many players who are new to the hobby because the theme really sells them and they are Harry Potter fans. Great to play no matter if you are a gateway gamer or a very skilled and kind of gamer who's played a lot of stuff. But Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle is my number 5 game based on a book. My number 8 game based on a book is Shakespeare by Starry Games. This game for 1 to 4 players to me is one of the unsung heroes in board gaming. I wish more people played this game. It's got a wonderful worker placement and tableau building aspect to it, which I think can satisfy very heavy gamers and light gamers as well, because the theme really sells it. Artwork in this game is fantastic on the cards. The variety of different characters from Shakespeare's works makes you want to reread all of Shakespeare's plays, dramas, comedies, all those great things. In Shakespeare, you are looking to build up your a variety of different things. You're looking to work on different acts on your play. You are looking to get costumes on your performers. You are looking to create the best set for your play, amongst other things. I think this game has so much to offer, whether you like heavy games or light games, again, and it really is super thematic. I like the expansion on this as well, but I don't think it's necessary. That is Shakespeare by Starry Games, 1 to 4 players, 20 to 90 minutes, my number 8 game based on books. My number 7 game based on a book is The Godfather, Corleone's Empire, published by Simon and designed by Eric M. Lang. This game can be very decisive for a lot of players, but I think this game really captures the essence of what the book, The Godfather, and so many people forget that The Godfather, the movie, was based on a book, a very, very popular book, one of the most popular of its age, and really threw Mario Puzo into the limelight. A game for 2 to 5 players. This worker placement game has a lot of really funny moments going on in it too. My husband is mostly Italian and a lot of Sicilian, so you can kind of see where this train of thought is going. His family may or may not have had certain dealings with the mafia back in the 1900s, and for him it's a part of family history, if you'll say. One of the most favorite things and silliest things you can do is you go, take a swim with the fishes. If you're a Godfather fan, you will certainly get that reference. I love that you are collecting things, you're going on missions, you're trying to do a variety of things, and it really does, for me, have the heart of the book in a board game form. I think this is a great production by Simon as well. One of their titles that I don't think is as much in the forefront, but in terms of components, it's got that really awesome little metal trunk that you can put your money in. There's some bluffing that goes on, and at 2 players, it could be very quick. At 5 players, you can have a really hoot and holler and fun time. Everyone that we've shown The Godfather to has had a blast playing it. I think you really get into the spirit of the book and the game as well. My number 7 game is The Godfather, Corleone's Empire. My number 6 game is A Song of Ice and Fire tabletop miniatures game from Simon. If you know anything about my Instagram feed or the videos that I've done here for Board Game Breakfast, you know that most of the ones that I love are games that are very heavily based on theme and have really strong book connections. It's what I do, after all, for a living. I am a librarian in real life. I've been asked that question before. Jen, are you a librarian in real life? And I say, why, yes I am. And I'm just as enthusiastic about books and games at work. So A Song of Ice and Fire to me is a tabletop miniatures game for people like me who are not necessarily hardcore miniature gamers. I am notoriously the laziest measurer of all time. If I were to ever go into a friendly local game store or to a tournament and I used my normal measuring, I would probably be told to leave because I'm very lackadaisical about it. Thank goodness my husband is pretty forgiving when it comes to that. But A Song of Ice and Fire, I think, is a wonderful introduction to tabletop miniature games, and it has a very strong connection to the book series as well. And it's named, of course, after the best-selling book series, not the popular TV show as well. I think it captures so much of the books and the very grand battles. It captures so much of the different factions that are here in the books. It brings it very much to life. You can have very quick games or very short games, unlike J.R.R. Martin's books, which are so long. And You could be very happy playing this game just from the initial starter box as well. You wouldn't ever have to necessarily buy any of the expansions. I love that they've used artwork that's reflective of the book and not the TV series. And again, I think it can just be a great introduction for those who are a fan of the book series, but as well as the TV series, into miniature games. In terms of the measuring that I referenced before, this for me really just blows out of the water all of the other ones where you have to use measuring tools, because all of the figures are in a particular base and in a very set location. So I won't get caught out. My number 6 game based on a book is A Song of Ice and Fire. I would be largely remiss for my number 5 or in this top 10 list at all if I did not add an H.P. Lovecraft Cthulhu-inspired game. And Mansions of Madness by Fantasy Flight Games, a game for 1 to 5 players, really, to me, encapsulates all of my favorite Lovecraft games. Over the years, we've had a lot of fun playing Elder Sign, Eldritch Horror, Mansions of Madness, Arkham Horror, and others. But Mansions of Madness, I think, has been a new favorite in our house because of the app. We had the earlier edition and it just didn't work for us, but now with this newer edition, having the app, sitting together while the app is doing all the work for us, has been a real pleasure. I love that Mansions of Madness has that puzzle aspect, and you're doing a lot of the exploring, which is oftentimes a very large part of H.P. Lovecraft's work, where you're exploring the territory, you're learning new things, you're encountering new adventures and new people as well. Mansions has awesome cooperative aspects as well, too, in terms of who is going to fight which monster. Is someone going to explore that new room? Are you going to have a new encounter, etc.? I think what's nice about the FFG Cthulhu line is that it can be very accessible for a lot of people, and they are always churning out new content as well. We are still very much enjoying our copy of Mansions of Madness, and that is my number 5 pick. My number 4 pick for my top 10 favorite games based on books is Fury of Dracula. This particular copy that I own is the Fantasy Flight Edition. It's for 2 to 5 players, where you are in Bram Stoker's Dracula world. This is just fantastic. I can't say enough good things about this. This game, I've had wonderful games of it and wonderful experiences as well. This is a game that we have taught to non-gamers, where my father-in-law has infamously said, "I just want to fight Dracula," where he had collected all these wonderful weapons, and then every time Dracula was revealed, he just wanted to fisticuffs him and beat him up. But for those who have played the game, we know that that's not necessarily how it works sometimes. We have also played wonderful games where it's been a full 5 players and we're all playing different characters, and the table talk going around has, I think, been a treat for the Dracula player, as well as they are listening to what we as the investigators are really trying to find out where he is. Some of my best memories have been playing as a 2-player game where my husband has been Dracula and I have been all the rest of the other characters, or I have been Dracula and he has been all the other rest of the characters. First time we played, I was a terrible, I think I was Dracula. I decided to be in the space right next to one of the characters, and of course was found right away. A very rookie mistake, but we've had epic battles where it's come down to the very last turn and encounter, where it's either going to be Dracula is going to have an epic win, or the other rest of the characters are going to have their own equally as epic win. And just some of those have been some of my favorite gaming memories. Gaming is really to me so much about the experiences that we're having together around the table talk that we're having, that shared experience of putting brains together. And For Your Dracula is an excellent example of this. One that we don't play a super lot, one that comes out mostly at Halloween time, of course, right? But it's one that I think has delighted so many players in our household. It's a classic now at this point, and really solves the problem for me of what the book could not provide. If you've read Bram Stoker's Dracula, that scene at the very end where they are able to overcome Dracula is kind of like a Debbie Downer of sorts. This whole book of chasing him and trying to find him resolved in one very short paragraph. So if you have been disappointed by Bram Stoker's Dracula, I would highly encourage you to play Fury of Dracula, my number 4 pick for my top 10 games based on books. My number 3 pick for my top 10 games based on books is the newest game on this list, and that is Abomination, the Heir of Frankenstein, published by Plaid Hat Games. This may be my game of the year for 2019. I think it is one of the best games I have played this year and in a long time. This game for 2 to 4 players can be quite long. A lot of people online have been upset about the length, but there are very, very certain cards that will allow you to push the game forward. Of course, based on Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, this is a sequel of sorts where the creature is looking still for you to create a companion for it. The book has ended and you are really trying your hardest in a competition of sorts to create this companion for the creature. And again, remember too, it's the creature, not Frankenstein. Frankenstein was the doctor who put the creature together. This game is definitely not for everyone. I think the theme, the deeply horror aspect of it can be a little off-putting, but if you're not someone who is bothered by those things, I think Abomination is a brilliant game. One of the most thematic Euro games that I have ever played. The designer Dan Blanchett is a clear fan of the source material. When I interviewed him at Gen Con, he was talking about his love of the source material. He was talking about like the different Frankenstein inspired shirts that he has, and you can tell this within the board game. There's also this wonderful storytelling aspect that can happen sometimes depending on what cards are played and how things go, which has wonderful opportunities for you to determine your own fate. Other complaints about this game will include the dice, most particularly when you're trying to bring your own creature to life. But I'm very much a kind of person, and that to me is almost very thematic because you may or may not be successful when you're trying to bring your own creature to life, as in real life. There's so much that I really enjoy about this game. The attention to the source material, I think, is really the number one thing about it. Plaid Hat did a great job with the production of this game as well, and for me, it's my favorite game of the year so far. My number 3 game, Abomination, the Heir to Frankenstein. My number 2 game, and I'm going to have to kind of peek over here, game based on a book is The Reckoners, based on the book series of the same series title by Brandon Sanderson. This is, even more so than the Dresden Files, the biggest example of me having not read the books first, after playing the game, then going and reading the books. It's a very popular series for young adults, and I love this game. I love this game. This is my 2018 game of the year. It is a wonderful cooperative game, and to me, so thematic. You'll see that as kind of a running thread through all of my games, where theme is really reigning king. And I do find that in the Reckoners as well. In the Reckoners, you are working cooperatively together to beat the epics, and then finally to beat Steelheart, your big baddie of the game and the first book series. You have 6 characters who are pulled right from the books, as well as epics pulled from the books, and a couple of errata as well. One of the best parts about this game, and I get really excited about it, is that there's like a little journal of sorts in here, which tells even more about the epics pulled from David's journal, if you're familiar with the book, Steelheart, and it's just so much fun. It's got these wonderfully chunky dice. You are rolling in a Yahtzee style, where you are rolling 3 times, saving dice along the way, collecting other things as well, moving around the board. This is one of those games where, too, I can say it almost on one hand, where as soon as we were done, I said, let's set this up again. And then when we finished, let's set this up again. I think we spent an entire day off of mine playing just this game. Published by Navu Games. I love this game. They're coming out with an expansion in the somewhat near future. It's going to go up on Kickstarter. I hope that they will take epics from the next book, and they'll make it very kind of book sequential there. This is fantastic quality on the game as well, and just one that I'm so enthusiastic about. One that we haven't played as much this year, and I'm kind of sad about, but just a fantastic gameplay and a really fun experience as well. That's my number 2 game for games based on books. And my number 1 favorite game based on a book, I'm joined with our cat Aslan. Yes, named for the Aslan from Chronicles of Narnia. Yeah, I'm a total librarian nerd. Is Board of the Ring, Ares Games. What can I say about this game? So it is one that I talk about all the time. If you follow me on Favorite Game Friday, Instagram, or any of the other videos, you know how much I love this game. And you can clearly tell by how well battered and used our copy is. I have so much nostalgia for playing War of the Ring. This to me is the ultimate Lord of the Rings game. Fight me on it, I dare you. If you have not played War of the Ring and you are a Lord of the Rings fan, what is up with you? Find me at a convention, I will teach you how to play, and we will have this epic battle. It says 2 to 4 players, but it to me is really a 2-player game. I would never play it with 4 players. Again, another epic battle of good versus evil, where you are either the Fellowship of the Ring or the Shadow players. War of the Ring was one of the first 10 games that we had ever gotten. It was a Christmas gift from my mother when it came out as a second reprint in 2012. My husband really wanted it for Christmas, and I can't say that I was the most amenable to playing this game, which makes me feel like a stinker, kind of now. Every time he went and set it up, and if you've played this game, you know how long it takes to set it up. It had been either a really bad day at work or really bad traffic, and I was just not in the mood. And we put it away. Same thing would happen. I also started off playing the Fellowship first, and I wouldn't recommend that necessarily as your first introductory play. I ended up playing the Shadow player, which is where I have kind of stayed for these last 20 plays. I've probably played this game 25 times. and I've won once. My husband is so great at this game. He's such a huge Lord of the Rings fan, and it was epic. It was one of those moments where he was playing as the Fellowship, and he was either going to drop the ring into Mount Doom, or I was going to have an epic military win as the shadow player, and somehow the cards are working in my favor and the dice are also working in my favor, and it was just like, what? That to me is the wonderful thing about this game, that you can completely rewrite what has been set forth by the books or go along in the same train as the books, but you really are making your own book destiny and game destiny here as well. That's one of the things that I love about this game, as a side note, is games that defy my expectations. I talked about that possibly a little earlier. But War of the Ring was a game that I did not think I was going to like. I was so resistive about it. I was a real stinker, and I have grown to love it so much. In fact, it's not only my number one game of games based on books, but it's my number one game of all time. We don't play this nearly as much as we used to. For those, again, who have played this, it's a real beast to set it up, and it could take, you gotta put a day aside for it. You gotta know you're gonna play it. You gotta play it right away in the beginning of the morning. But I just love it so much, and I love playing it with my husband, but because it's such a shared experience, and gaming again is so much about those shared experiences with the people that you love and care about. To me, the most thematic experience you will ever play. The cards can very much determine how your game goes, as well as the dice, but you know, your strategy can change depending on how you're rolling for the dice. That is all for my top 10 games based on books. I'd love to hear in the comments below, what are your favorites? Are you a big Dresden Files fan? Are you a Pillars of the Earth fan and wish that I put that on my list? Do you really love a lot of the Cthulhu Mythos games? What are your favorites? Do you love War of the Ring as much as I do? Thank you again for joining me on this top 10 games based on books journey. I am on Instagram, boardgame.librarian. I am on Twitter as well, boardgamelibra1, and as well have a YouTube channel for Board, B-O-R-E-D, gamers. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of the marathon.